Have you ever wanted to say something, but the words just stopped inside your chest? Like your mouth opened and nothing came out? Not because you didn't know the answer, but because you were afraid. Afraid of being wrong, afraid of sounding stupid, afraid of the way people would look at you. This is the story of a boy named Daniel. And for 3 years, he never said a single word in English. Not one.
Daniel was 17 years old. He lived in a small city, a quiet life, a simple home. He was shy, soft-spoken, but deeply intelligent. He loved reading. He loved learning. He dreamed of becoming someone great one day. But there was one thing that terrified him more than anything in the world: speaking English out loud. Not learning it. He knew English. He read English books. He watched English movies. He understood almost everything. But speaking it in front of people, that was a completely different story. Every time he tried, his heart would race, his hands would shake, his voice would disappear. He would open his mouth and silence. In school, the English teacher would ask questions. Every student would answer, but not Daniel. He would look down at his desk. He would pretend to write something, anything, just to avoid being called on. One day, the teacher looked directly at him. "Daniel, can you read the paragraph for the class?" The whole room went quiet. 30 pairs of eyes turned toward him. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He looked at the words on the page. He knew those words. He understood every single one. But when he opened his mouth, his voice cracked. He stumbled over the first sentence. A few students laughed, just a small laugh. Maybe they didn't even mean it. But for Daniel, it felt like the whole world was laughing. He sat back down. His face was red. His eyes were hot. He made a silent promise to himself that day: "I will never speak English in front of anyone again." And he kept that promise. For months, he was invisible. He sat in the back of the class. He never raised his hand. He stopped trying. His grades got worse. His confidence disappeared. And slowly, the dream of becoming an engineer began to feel like a joke. Who was he kidding? He couldn't even read one paragraph out loud. How could he ever succeed in a world that spoke English? He started to believe something dangerous. He started to believe that he simply wasn't good enough. One afternoon, after school, Daniel was sitting alone in the library. He had his headphones in. He was watching an English interview on his phone. The man being interviewed spoke slowly, clearly, and with great confidence. Daniel paused the video. He rewound it. He listened again and again. Then he did something he had never done before. He whispered the words to himself, quietly, just barely louder than a breath. No one could hear him. No one was watching. And for the first time in years, the words came out. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but they came out. An old librarian named Mr. Osei walked past. He stopped. He had heard Daniel whispering. He sat down across from him and said something Daniel never forgot. "You know the words. I can hear them. The only thing stopping you is the story you're telling yourself about those words." Daniel looked up. Mr. Osei continued, "Every great speaker in the world was once terrible. Every confident voice was once a shaking one. The difference is they kept going. They were willing to be bad at it for a while. Are you?" Daniel didn't answer. But something shifted inside him that day. Something quiet, something small. like a door opening just a little bit. Daniel didn't change overnight. That is not how real life works. But he started doing one small thing every day. Every morning, before school, he would stand in front of his bathroom mirror, and he would speak. Just 1 minute. He would talk about his day, about what he was thinking, about anything, in English. At first, it was painful. He stumbled. He repeated himself. He made mistakes. But he kept going. After 2 weeks, he started recording himself on his phone. He would listen back and notice his mistakes. Then he would try again. He started watching English videos, not just to understand them, but to copy how people spoke. The rhythm, the pauses, the feeling. He started writing small English sentences in a notebook every night. Not for school, not for grades, just for himself. Slowly, very slowly, something began to change. The words started to feel lighter. They stopped feeling like rocks in his throat. One day in class, the teacher asked a question. Daniel looked down at his desk, the same old habit. But then he stopped himself. He took one slow breath, and he raised his hand. The teacher was surprised. "Daniel?" He answered the question. His voice was quiet. His grammar wasn't perfect, but it was clear, it was real, and it was his. No one laughed. In fact, a classmate turned around and nodded. That small nod meant everything.
A year later, Daniel stood on a stage. His school was hosting an English speech competition, and Daniel had entered. The same boy who once couldn't read a paragraph out loud, the same boy who hid in the back row, the same boy who believed he wasn't good enough. He stood at the microphone. He looked out at the crowd. His heart was beating fast, yes. His hands were a little shaky, yes. But he breathed, and he began to speak. He spoke about fear. He spoke about silence. He spoke about the journey from hiding to standing tall. When he finished, the room was quiet for one long moment. Then applause. Not because his English was perfect, but because every single person in that room felt something. They felt his story. After the event, a younger student came up to him. A girl, maybe 14 years old. She looked at the floor and said quietly, "I'm afraid to speak English too." Daniel smiled. He said, "Good. That means you care. That means it matters to you. And anything that matters to you is worth fighting for." The truth is, Daniel's story is not just his story. It is the story of everyone who has ever felt too small to speak. Everyone who swallowed their words because they were afraid of being wrong. Everyone who believed their voice didn't matter. But here is what Daniel learned, and what I want you to hear today. Your voice was never the problem. The story you believed about your voice was the problem. And stories can change, one breath at a time, one word at a time, one brave moment at a time. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin. If this story touched something inside you today, if you recognized yourself in Daniel even a little, then you already know what to do. Take one small step. Speak one sentence today, just one. And if this story helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss a story like this, because every week we bring you real stories told in simple English to help you grow, feel inspired, and never give up. See you in the next one.